Okay, how's everybody doing today? I'm going to do something that is long overdue, and I'm going to sit down and do some lip light modules. So that's what we're going to do today, and I'm going to show you how to do it and the difference between the LED and the optical versions. I know some people do the optical, some people do LEDs. So I'll just go through that and start working on one of my little lip light modules because I need one anyway, so perfect time to sit down and do one in front of you. So first thing you're going to need is a little UV meter, which is one of these little guys. Depending on the project size, there's lots of different types you can get. If I was doing the full size Johnny 5, this is for Johnny 5 lip lights, obviously. 1/6 scale ones would be those ones. If I was doing a full size one, a 1:1 scale, I'd be using probably the bigger ones because I would be able to do the full 14 on the front. And some of these you can actually work in and kind of get the underside lights as well. But that's a little bit more complicated than what I'm going to show you today, which is probably the most basic, easiest way to do it. So get yourself one of these little UV meters. You can get them off eBay. I think they're like $1.20. I buy these in bulk. I think I get 10 to 20 at a time because they do take a long time from China to arrive. You're going to need whatever you're going to house your LEDs into to get the lip light effect. So normally on the Johnny 5 models it's just a slot in there, so you just fix your LEDs down to something and slot it down. A lot of the times on the Robo V's I used to do, I would use a matchstick and just cut a slice down the center, spread it apart and slip the LEDs in, close it up and then slip the whole thing in here so it would show up in there in the slip. I went ahead and just designed this one so it has pre-holes in it. There's 10. I'm only going to do 10 LEDs. I used to do 14, but trying to get 14 1mm LEDs into a 15mm space without any of the lights touching, very difficult, very challenging. Can be done, but very challenging. So just to make life a lot easier, is just 10 on the front. I am working on another set of lip lights which I won't be available until next year anyway, so I won't start offering them until next year. They'll have the 10 on the front and they'll have 10 on the underside, so there'll be 5 on each side, which will be the green and reds, just to give some effect. I mean, I know that's not movie accurate, the sequence of it, but it's just going to give some color on the sides, just to give that effect that, yes, it's a Johnny 5 lip light module. So that is coming next year. I'm still working on that, trying to find out the best solution for the lights and the brightness and stuff. Some people have complained about the brightness of the LEDs. You can lower that down by the voltage. So I've got my lip light module and I've got my 10 LEDs. These are orange SMDs, 0402 size. I think they're 0.85 millimeter, so they're just under a millimeter. That's how I can squeeze in the 14 between the 15mm gap. They're just under 1 millimeter. So you can use the LEDs or you can use the optic cables. I find I've done this quite a few times, different size optics as well. It's a harder, well, it's a more pain in the butt process to do. For me, it was just not practical for my needs. If you're doing a static model, that's fine. You do get a nice little effect from them, but I basically got to treat them like they're an egg. I mean, they're so delicate and they break. You can cover them in, say, some shrink wrap, or tape them up, but they just get so stiff you can't move them. And I'm, making robots all the time, and moving parts. You want flexibility. The LED cables are super fine, and you can bend them any way you want. I mean, I throw this thing around and it's fine. These things are super delicate, and they break so easily. So totally impractical for my uses. Again, I tried my best to work with these, and just nah. I tried the thin opticals, which are very delicate. As I said, I tried the thicker ones, which are 1mm ones, which will perfect because they're 1mm. You can fit 14 into a 15mm space. But again, they were this is my working ones. They're very stiff, and if you try and bend them, they just snap. They do get brittle after a few years, so I don't recommend them, is what I'm saying. The other thing is, the idea is to, and I had an LED here, is to get the LEDs on your actual, so if you want to ease up, is to get the LED, you drill a hole in the center, and then you thread the LEDs down into the LED, the color. You have to change all these out to orange as well. So you've threaded that LED into the light, and then it projects on the other side, obviously, because it's a optic cable. Should I say LED? I mean optics. Optic cables. The other thing is, you don't get consistent light through them, and it's all due to the cut on the end and how you've angled it into the light. So depending on how it's refracting on the end of the optic cable, will come out the other end, so you get very inconsistent lighting. At least with the LEDs, you're spot on. Every one is exactly the same. So quite a few issues I ran into doing it with the optic cables. Again, I tried, like I really tried, but yeah, totally impractical for my uses, and I don't really recommend them. So back on to the LEDs. Now, because of the optic cables, I had to come up with a new solution. I found these actually in rail motorways, model trains and stuff like that. These are for the dioramas, the little tiny cars and street lights and stuff like that. So that was a good little find. I know a lot of people were just using them and trying to solder them themselves. You can get these pre-wired. You can get these pre-wired just with a wire, and you can also get them pre-wired with a resistor on it. I don't need the resistor because this little UV meter will take care of all that. As long as you keep all your LEDs the same color. I've noticed with the ones I'm trying to do with the underside lights, is as soon as you start adding extra colors, you're going to have to start playing around with the resistors in it, and I don't really want to do that. So that's why I'm still working on the underside lights for the mini version. I do have a solution, and I will be working on that today and maybe showing it in the next couple of days. But let's just work on this one, because I know time is going to stretch out on this. This should take about, if I'm really concentrating, about 15 minutes. First time people doing it, expect to be doing this a couple of hours. The one thing I don't have is my tweezers, which I might have to get up and get them, because I really need them, and they're probably sitting on my table, so I'm going to have to shoot off for a split second to go get my tweezers, but I should be fine actually. I should be fine. So I got 10 here. They come 10 in a packet. That's the other reason why I did 10, because there's 10 in a packet. If I have to do 14, I have to buy 2 packets, and then I've got leftovers, so I have to buy more packets to compensate for the leftovers. So yeah, packet per lip light module is, again, trying to keep it simple. So let's just do this. So first thing you want to do is, this is a good idea, is to have a little button battery with you. Just test them. You just want to make sure they're all working. And I think my battery is flat on that one. So we'll grab this one, and you can see it there, light up. it's going to be dull because of the 1.3 or this is a 3 volt. I think it's a 3 volt. It's a 3 volt. You can put 9 volt into this. So again, the more power you put into this, the brighter the lights are going to be. That's how you control the brightness of these LEDs. So we're just going to grab them. Again, test them as you do it. I'm just going to grab the two ends and we're going to thread those in to the first hole. Now, the way this works is there's 10 LEDs, right? So you're going to split them up into two, and this is why I need my tweezers. Sorry, I got to go get my tweezers because I need to pull those wires through. So you want to split the 10 LEDs up into two groups, and that's going to give you the 5 that you have there. So what we're going to do is just pull these through. And you can pull on these pretty hard. These are well made, to be honest. Just pull them in parallel. So we want to pull them up, and there's the LED faces either like one direction. Sometimes, depending on when you buy them, the LED faces forward, but these ones all face downwards, sort of thing. So you just want to line them all up one way, and I tend to line them up downwards, facing down, because if you put them up, they shine on his nose and create a shadow I don't really want to get. So I try to line them all up down. I'll try to get close up there. So that is facing down in the first one. Now what I like to do is just get a little bit of glue. So I just put a little bit of glue on there. Just some super glue. I will get just a little bit of solder just to dab it on. Now once I've got it lined up where I want it, I'm going to glue it from the back side, not the front, because there is a possibility that you can connect the two raw wires from the positive and negative. So we're just going to glue it at the back. And the capillary attraction will pull that glue through the hole. So we just need just a tiny bit, just to hold it. Once this is all done, I will be threading the wires along the cavity here and filling that up with hot glue, and they just pop out the side there. But make sure you test everything before doing that. The good thing about hot glue is if something does sort of break, you need to replace one, you can just heat it up, pull that wire out. So it's not permanently in there, but it's fixed in there. So just give that a few seconds. Speed that up a bit. The reason you don't glue the front is because you can grab them and just kind of twist them if you need to turn it around a little bit. Grab our next one. Again, we're going to test it. I probably won't test all of these, but if you're doing it, test them all. I'm pretty much used to it, and like maybe 1 out of 100 you might have an issue with. So I'm just going ahead and going to do all the rest of them without testing it, just to save on some time here. It's probably not going to be the most exciting video, but at least you're all getting a first look at how this is done and how much work goes into these. I mean, people don't realize how much work actually goes into these. And I kind of wish I didn't offer talking ones. I should have just stuck to static ones. So we're just going to pull that in. We're going to again guide that into the hole. It's going to be facing down. A little bit of glue on the back. You can always double up on that second one as well, just to make sure that's in there. Okay, those two are in. Just gonna give that a second just to dry real quick, because I don't want them to move. Now what you can do now is I recommend you get a little bit of tape, because these two are going to be number 1 on your board. Okay, so just so you don't get confused on all these wires, is you just want to tape these up together. And we're going to call that 1. So we know that is our pair of 1s. What you can do, so initially what happens now, well, you can do it now or you can do it when all of it's done. You join the wires, so you join black and black and you join red and red. Once that is joined, and I will be doing this on the video, you connect the positive to positive and the negative to negative. So it'll look like that. So that becomes your number 1. So when number 1 lights up, both of those middle ones will light up. And the idea is to just continue on and do the exact same thing. It's a little bit different when you do the 14. I do have a schematic for the 14. Well, not a schematic, but just a shitty little drawing. I did put up a video of this a couple of years ago. That was for the Robot V ones, which basically explains the whole thing, but just with 14, when it comes to the last 2 pairs, there'll be an extra 2 pairs, so you just join those together as well, so the last 4 will become 4, and the last 4 on this side, the last 4 on the outsides become number 5, and the last 4 inwards a little bit more become number 4. So instead of bridging 2 together, you're bridging 4 together. Then you add it to the number on board, if you understood that. But that's the 14, so don't worry about that. We're just doing the 10 today. So those are dried. You just want to give them a couple of minutes or so just to dry. So we'll continue on with this. So we'll grab the next ones, and they just go into the adjacent holes. So we'll see if I can kind of speed this up a bit. So what I like to do is just put in a couple of them, and then I can glue them all at once. Again, I'm not testing these, I'm just going to rely on faith that they all work. So again, the more you do this, and the sort of technique and procedure you develop, you can get very fast at it. But again, when I was first starting, I mean, those optical ones, I think I spent a couple of days just doing my first one. And trust me, I've had many, many fails doing this. Especially the 14. When you have everything working perfectly fine and you go to plug it in right at the last moment, there'll be just 2 little LEDs touching, and that's it, they blow. And you're pretty much screwed. You have to start again. And like I said, you have to buy 2 packets in order to do 1 lip light, and they take friggin' weeks to arrive from China. I think I may have used a couple of, what do they come in packs of 10? No, I think I used 5 out of this pack, because I don't have all of them here. I'm missing 4. Must have used some. I'm just going to check this. Yep, okay, so we're still fine. So now that I've got a few in there, I'll just line that up. See, the reason you want them to be lined up the same is if one was facing up, one was facing down, you're going to see it. It's not going to be a straight line, it's going to be a wave. So definitely try and keep them facing all the same way. So just trying to get that last one. It's being a little bit difficult. They all look good. This one needs to be turned around. Actually, I might glue those in, because the thing is, as I'm moving this on my paper on my bench, the wires are moving, so they're going to move the LEDs. So we'll just pull them in, making sure they're all nice and straight. So we'll just glue all of those. Just give that a second. We'll get another packet ready. I've got a nice fresh pack. I'm sure there's 10 in there. I must have used some in it, but I'll count those and see. Maybe there's 5 in the packet, but I did order a massive 50 packs, so they might have packaged it differently. This particular one. Okay, so that last one we just have to turn around, and I kind of need the wire to turn it around, so that's why the tweezers are very handy. A good quality pair too. These are stainless steel, so they're not magnetic. If you get the cheap tweezers, pain in the butt, because they'll keep like magnetizing and stuff like that. So stainless steel ones. So we'll just turn that around. We're going to face that down. Pop that in there. A little bit of glue. So you can kind of see them all lined up there. They're all facing down, as opposed to this top. Not that you can see it, but okay. So we'll just let that sit for a few seconds. We'll just open up this packet. And how many have I got in packet? It definitely looks like there's 10 in here. So I must have just used some of the other one. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, there's definitely 10 in a packet, so I just must have used some. So let's put that aside. I don't need all these, so we'll separate some of these. I do have 2 of my photon printers running in the back. I just changed the flaps on them. Again, I'm back to the old photons because my Mono X is basically a boat anchor at the moment. That screen was a very disappointment, especially considering the original screen that I bought it for lasted 6 months, and that thing was hammered. The reason I had to replace it was because I used it. There is an expiry date on them. Well, not an expiry date, but the amount of use will burn them out. Like they just get old. They don't last forever. So, but a lot longer than the actual photon screens. I have replaced my original photon screens probably 3 or 4 times each printer. So get them in. The other thing I'm going to be doing today is I've got to finish off a couple of projects for other people, but I'm going to try and work on my punk head as well. That little amp that I just got is a great little amp, perfect size to go underneath the bass, and will hopefully fix all of my issues for the vocals, because I know my vocals are absolutely crap on that head at the moment. And I'm definitely putting another spark generator. Those things work fantastic. I'm just checking this wire out. Is there a black wire on that? Yeah, okay, it's just underneath. But yeah, those spark generators work perfectly. I've been getting a lot of good comments on the animatronic groups and stuff like that. A lot of people are surprised I'm actually using the old style sparks, and I'm thinking, what are people using today? Are they using LEDs, white LEDs, to mimic sparks or something? I mean, I know there's a fire hazard using them, but when you really think about it, they were in kids' toys. So as long as, you know, it's not running consistently, just for a few seconds, it's going to be fine. So I'll just let that dry there, make sure they're all lined up. These two keep spinning around slightly. I have to try to pull them back in with the cables. So you can see this does take a bit of time. So when people ask me, oh, can I get a talking one? I'm like, oh man, really? And you got to be in the mood to do this. I mean, I've cleaned up my whole desk here, got rid of all my paints, pulled out all the electronic stuff. I got my soldering on, all the cables, you know, helping hands, all that sort of stuff. So it takes a bit just to set up. So you want to be able to, usually when I set up, I try and do a few of these. I just want these last two to stay in position because they seem to be spinning around a little bit. Sorry if I'm going out of focus here, I'm just trying to blow on it. Lately I've been using a can of air that you clean computers with just to dry the glue off. I just ran out, but that was working perfectly because I could actually aim it directly where I wanted it with the little nozzle on it. So that worked fantastic as well. But unfortunately I ran out, and going outside at the moment is not the best option. And I don't think buying a can of spray air is a necessary item. So let's just, last two. I am going to do a video on the EZB as well. I'm getting a lot of people interested in how am I doing all of these movements so easy and so quick. The EZB is a fantastic little unit, very user friendly. I think it's like made for dummies, to be honest. Once you know the basics of it, it's very, very easy to pick up. So let's just run a little bit more glue along the edge of all these just to lock them in because they look nice. I mean, if you're doing this, test them all first before gluing them in. I'm just being a little lazy and going on. The other thing was, as you're doing the next two side by side, group them, put them together, tape them up, label them. I should have been doing that just to show you, but I was trying to speed this up. But I might do it now actually. Give that a second just to dry because I'm going to start pulling on these in a second. So if we grab those two, the first two, that was your number one. So these wires get joined together, which I'll do in a second. Now the reason I wanted these glued is so I can pull these down and just give a little bend in it so I can really separate these. Now we want to grab the next one next to that. So we'll pull that out. And then we'll grab this one over here. So you can see how much I'm moving the wires and stuff like that, and you can see why it was so difficult to do this with the optics. You just had to be super careful with it. So we're just going to take this off, label this number 2. Again, I don't usually do this because I know this off by heart now. So we'll just label that, but this is good practice just to show you guys how to do it. So we want to grab the next two next to that. Pull that through. Take there. Oh, I'm going to bring that up just a little bit. We don't want to go too close to that. I'll label that 3. Grab number 4. Now on the 14 lip lights, this is where it gets a bit different because you're going to have an extra 2 on each side. So you would grab the 2 sets on this side and the 2 sets on that side, join them together, and that would be number 4. Then you grab the next 2 sets on this side, the next 2 sets on that side, that would become number 5 on your board. So you're just grouping more lights at the ends. But again, this is only the 10 LEDs, so it makes it very easier just to grab 1 LED per side. So grab that up, they become 4. Number 4. Pull that forward. And the last 2 will be 5. So that is all of our wires grouped. They're all paired up and they're all numbered 1 to 5, which is 1 to 5 on the board. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So next part now is to start joining the positive and negatives together. Now these are already tinged and everything, so I should be able to just grab these wires. If anybody knows a little trick to taking the plastic off these, because usually I do it with my teeth. No, it's not the best, but it's the best way of doing it. I've seen people get a lighter and they light the end and they can pull it off. It didn't work for me. But luckily these are already tin. So I've just got some jeweler pliers. These are for making jewellery. These are like a flat. And these are fantastic just for grabbing them and twisting them. Just to join those wires together. Okay, so that's 1. Grab those, put those in. Whoops. Okay, that's that. Now we can, and I might solder these right now, just so they don't pull apart because they are very fine wires. Actually, where's my little, don't need that one. I'll get this one. I'm just going to clamp those together and just quickly solder these together as I'm doing it because I don't want these to pull apart. They are very fine wires. This is my spare soldering iron. This is way too big for what I usually, I've got like a little tiny micro one, but it unfortunately broke on me. It hasn't been the best couple of months for things not breaking on me. And so that is that one done. Okay, so that's number 1. So I'd have to repeat this for all of them. So we'll just repeat this. It's probably not going to be the most exciting part of the whole build is doing this. Now if you've seen my other videos, I have done 86 LEDs in my 70% scalar Serges model. 86, I mean that took me 3 weeks to do 86 LEDs in that lip lights. The wiring was a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. There is a video on how I did that. I actually had to use 3 of the UV meters, so 1 at the front, One controlled the front lights, which had 14 LEDs. One was controlling the red lights. Because there were so many, I didn't want to push these little things too hard. And gave me complete control separately of the red lights to the green lights. So then I had another one controlling the green lights. And that's what gave me the ability to get the actual dancing of it, because I was able to control it. So this is why you label them, because I'm getting confused with the wires here. So that's done, that's done. So good idea to bunch them up as I have and label them. So I'm just going to grab these and do these. Grab that. Number 3. And the other thing is, you do need a lot of patience when doing these. The amount of messages I've had trying to help people, they get it, but it takes them a very long time, and they have had a few fails and have to redo it again. It sounds like one of my prints is done. Now I use my normal original photons for smaller projects, mainly flat stuff. That's because I can print them straight to the bed, and I've tuned them in so well that I get very minimal to no elephant foot on my parts. The cheek plates that go on the cheeks, which I haven't done yet, now I can because my printers are running. The cheek plates that go here, they're only like a millimeter thick. I do them on my photon flat to the bed. I get no elephant foot around them. Beautiful little printers. Slow as heck, but extremely reliable and very, very good quality. My Photon X is just super quick. I print on 0.05, so the quality is not like super fine or anything, but I tend to sand everything and paint it also. So let's keep going on this one. I'm up to number 3, so I've got a couple more to do. Now on the UV board, all you need to do is power it. There's an input for power, so you can a 5 volt, a 9 volt to power it, and then there's just a speaker input, which is basically your speaker. I'll show that in a minute. So it's very easy to hook up as well, and you can place it wherever you want, being so small. Have I done those wires? Yes, okay. So I'm onto these wires. So I'll show you all of that in a second, wiring it up, as I'm nearly done here. So that's number 3. Whew. Probably guessing what are we in, about 25 minutes now. I don't need that, I need these. Okay. Bit on the black, nope, okay. So this is probably the longest part of it. I know I said the optical cable version is a pain in the butt to do, but actually it is, because you have to change all of the LEDs on the board. You have to drill a hole in every LED, or not